Okay, Tov, today's daf is Daf Mem basing Subas as we learn for a four shlem for Loza ben Rum and Yosef Esriel ben Chaim Michal. Right from the top of the page, right after the Mishnah. The Mishnah said that a Nara that was either that was raped or that was seduced, so you have to pay the things that we discussed. The Ones pays for the Tsar, the Pitoy pays only for the Boshes and Pagam, and the Knas, of course, and it goes to the father. So the Gemara says, what is the chiddush in this Mishnah? We learned this in the previous parak. My Kamash Malon Tanina, we already learned in the previous parak, Hamafata Nosa Shloshim Dvarim, that if he seduces her, he pays three things, or Boshes, Pagam, and Knas. The onus Arba, and the onus pays the additional thing of Tsar for inflicting pain. Hamafata Nosa Boshes, Pagam, and Knas. Most of the onus Tsar, he pays for the Tsar. So we've already learned these halachas in the previous Mishnah. So in the previous parak, so why it was in the Mishnah in the previous parak? So why does it repeat it here again? So the Gemara says, "La via itzrachalei," to teach me that in the case of Narish and his patata, it says the goes to the father, it doesn't go to her, it goes to her father. So the Gemara says, "La via nami pshita." Obviously, in the case of Pitui, when he seduces her, it goes to the father because she was mochel. Why would you pay her for damages? It was what we call consensual. So ulavia nami pshita midika yav mafata. Since the mafata pays to the father, the latzma, if it's for her, amai yav, why would he give anything to her? Amai yav mafata, why would mafata pay anything to the girl? Midaita of it, she did it with her own knowledge. In other words, she did it willingly. So what's the chiddush in the Mishnah? That number one, that the Nara gets three things, and the Narish and Espata gets three things, and if she was raped, she gets four things, or that it goes to the father. It obviously goes to the father. Why would you pay her? She consented. It's Amda Bedin Israel. The chiddush is if the case was tried, if the case was adjudicated. That's the chiddush. Why? Because we have a machlokes put to Rav Shimon Rabbanan. The Mishnah said that once it was adjudicated, in other words, we have a klal of besides we say motive knas is potter, we discussed that, but we said that once it was adjudicated, even if she became a bogeris afterwards, it still goes to the father because once it was adjudicated, it's like his money. That's the Rabbanan Shita. Rab Shimon says, we're going to discuss Rab Shimon at length today. Rab Shimon says, if he didn't collect the money, im lo ispika ligbos, he didn't get a chance to collect the money, ad shemeis, and then he died, she keeps the money. In other words, even though it was adjudicated already, it's not considered the father's money. Here's the question. She was raped between the age of 12 and 12 and a half. He took the rapist to court, and it was judged, there were Edom, Maseta, whatever, it was judged that he has to pay the money, that the rapist has to pay the money to the father. But the father didn't collect the money yet. According to Rabbanan, once it was judged, it's like the father's money. What happens if the father dies now? Right after the case there was a verdict rendered, the father dies now. Who gets to keep the money? The 50 shekels? The Yorshim, the father's sons. That's the Chacham Shita. Reb Shimon says no. If he hasn't collected it yet, even though it was adjudicated and a verdict was rendered, it goes to the girl if he died. In lowest because such a mesa, she keeps the money. That's the chiddush of the Mishnah. This machlokis, which we didn't see in the previous parak. Yes, so the previous parak we learned about that a ma'anis gets four things. She gets the boshes, the begam, and the knas and the tsar. And in the case of mafat, she gets three things. And we learned all that before. And we learned that it goes to the father. The chiddush is this machlokes of Shimon Rabbanan. If the case was adjudicated and it wasn't paid yet, and the father died, who keeps it then? The Rabbanan say it goes to the Yorshim of the father, meaning his sons. And Reb Shimon says, no, if it hasn't been collected, especially if it hasn't been collected, it stays with the girl. That's the chiddush of the Mishnah. Okay. So now we're going to talk about another halacha. And this halacha is as follows. Halacha is that Pasuk says in Vayikra, Parakeh, Pasuk Chaf Beis, there it talks about if a person denies money. Let's say I worked for you and you owe me a paycheck. You haven't paid me. And I say, give me the money, and you deny it. And you swear falsely, you swear that you don't owe me the money. And then you admit it afterwards. That's what's called Asham Gzelos. You have to bring, not only do you pay 125%, the Karen plus another fifth milibar, which is 25%. Not only do you have to pay me the full amount, but you also have to bring an asham, a korban asham. That's called asham gedas. We say every day in korbanos there's 5 ashamos besides asham tolui. There's 5 regular korban ashams that you bring. One of them is asham. There's asham shevcha charufa, asham meilos, asham zelos. That's called asham zelos. And you steal money. How do you steal money? Either you deny that you owe me the money for my paycheck, or I lent you money and you deny that. You deny it because you don't have the money now. So you swear, you say, no, you don't owe me the money. Later on, you admit it. So you got to pay the fine 125%, not 100%. You got to pay 125%, plus bring a korban asham. Okay. The pasuk says there, it says you deny the money, whatever the money was, but it's got to be money. For example, I deposited some money with you. Say, can I keep some money in your safe? Then you deny it. Or you owe me money, like I said, for a paycheck. Or I lent you money, whatever it was, but there was money involved. There was a clear case where you had my money. You had my money. It was a lost item. You took something that I lost. Whatever it was, you had my money. You had my assets, and you deny it, and you swear falsely about it, and then you admit it. You have to bring what's called an asham zelos. That's the halacha. However, as we're going to see now, I'm giving you a little bit of a preamble. It's only if you deny money. Money meaning you owe me the money. You owe me the money. However, if it's a knas, that's not money yet. That's not money. So here, what did Rav Shimon say? Shimon said in our Mishnah that if you haven't paid the money yet to the father, if the rapist hasn't paid the money, the rapist or seducer hasn't paid the money to the father yet, and even though it was adjudicated, it's not knas anymore. He owes him the money. That's what the Rabbanan say. Shimon says no. If you haven't paid yet, it stays with her. It's not money yet. So now the Gemara says like this. Tanan Hossam, we learn in Shavuos like this. Anaspi pitis piti. Let's say, remember I said before, I have a claim, you owe me wages, you owe me a loan, an outstanding loan, or I deposited money with you, or you found my item. Let's say I say to this, listen, you raped my daughter. Anasta, either you rape my daughter, you seduce my daughter, pedisis piti, or malo anasti, the rapist, the alleged rapist says, lo anasti, I didn't do anything of the sort. Mashbirachati, swear, Vamarmeni, I swear I didn't do that. In other words, if I would do that, what would I owe you? A knas, right? I would owe you at least knas. And he says, no, I swear I didn't do it. Then afterwards, the rapist admitted that he did rape her. So he owes the money. That's similar to our case, right? You deny the money. So the Tanakhama says you have to pay. You have to pay because he denied money. He admitted he denied money. Why? We'll see in a minute. Rav Shimon Poter. Rav Shimon says, no, you're Poter. Sheina Mishalim Knas al Piatzmo. You don't pay knas. Let's say he would admit it. At that point, let's say he says, you raped my daughter. And the guy says, yes, I did. I'm sorry. Apologize. Does he owe the knas? No. Motive knas, we learned is Poter, right? So Rav Shimon says, he's not denying money because he could get out of it. He doesn't really owe him any money. It's not like an outstanding loan or a paycheck or some deal that I gave you money for, or a deposit, whatever. That's not money. You could deny the whole thing. The rapist could say, yeah, a rapist could get out of it by saying, yeah, I'm sorry, I did. It got the best of me, and I. Good. Amulo, good point. Amulo. So the rabbi said, even though you're right, he doesn't pay knas al piasmo because he could be motive knas, and therefore there's no money involved. In other words, when is the asham zelos come into play? When you denied money and then you admitted it. You swore falsely about the money, you admitted. There's no money over here, says Rav Shimon, because you don't pay knas. If you admitted it, you wouldn't have to pay anything. So there's no money. There's no money at issue over here. There's no money outstanding. So Amalo, they said, like Moshe saying, that's money. That's money owed, right? I inflicted damages by you. You have doctor's bills or shame or devaluation, as we'll call that, depreciation or devaluation, and that you would pay. So that's the machlokas over here. And we're going to see, Rashi points it out now, we're going to see later on that that's actually the machlokas. Machlokas is when a guy comes along and says, Reuben says to Shimon, you raped my daughter, what is he looking for? Is he looking for the Boshis and Gam, says the Rabbanan? Boshis and Gam, that's money. You deny the money, you swear falsely about it, then you admit it, you owe me the company, that's money. It's just like a loan, it's like a deposit, you owe me the money, Boshis and Gam, you owe me money. Whereas Rav Shimon says, no, when he says you raped my daughter, what is he asking for? He's asking for the knas. That's his mind. Why? We'll see the machlokas later on what's it based on. Okay, so that's what we're saying over here. So Rav Shimon clearly says, though, that you wouldn't be chayav Hasham Gzelos in this case. Why? Because I could deny the money. I could deny the money by saying I admit that the rapist could say, yes, I'm sorry, I raped. And therefore there's no money involved. And if there's no money involved, there's no denial of money, and there's no Hasham Gzelos. That's Rav Shimon Shita. Now we come to the question of the day. 1 minute. Yeah.
This is before or after?
Before Davidin. Good point. That's what we're saying over here. He just said, you raped my daughter, and he says, I didn't rape the daughter, and he swore falsely, but then he admitted it. Is he chayav shvu? Is he chayav Hasham Gzelos or not? According to Rabbanan, yes, because I asked him for money. You raped my daughter, I was asking you for money, right? I was asking for Bosh's account. According to Rav Shimon, no, he was asking for knas, and motive knas's potter. He could admit it and say, yeah, I'm sorry, I did rape her. It's potter for money, and therefore there's no money involved over here. That's before Hamad B'din. So now, question. This is the Gemara's question. Boy, Minei Abai me Rabba. Abai asked his Rebbe, Rabba, not Rabba. Abai and Rabba were both Talmidim of Rabba Bar Nachmani. That's the famous Rabba's Rabba Bar Nachmani. When it says the Gemara Stam Rabba, that's Rabba Nachmani. So Abai asked Rabba this question, Rebbe. What would Rav Shimon say in the case where there was Hamad B'din, where there was the case went to court, right? What would you say there? What would Rav Shimon say there? Again, Reuben tells Shimon, you raped my daughter, but made it to B'din. Wait a minute, you raped my daughter. In fact, we went to court about this case. We went to court last year. The court says you owe me the $50. You have to pay me. I deny the whole thing. I didn't rape her, and we didn't go to court. They didn't have good records in those days. You could pull out the proofs to court. He says that we didn't go to court. The court was another town. Not true at all. I'm not chayiv anything at all. So now the case was adjudicated. So once it was adjudicated, it's not simply knas, because motive knas is potter when it wasn't adjudicated yet, right? Because I'm just motive knas. But once their Adam find me guilty and I have to pay, it's no longer motive knas. Then it's a court case. It's mammon. Some chayiv mammon. He's denying money. V'nishba, and he swore that he doesn't owe him the money, that the whole l'hoyvelo nivra. Then afterwards he was motive that yes, it was true. I did go to court. I did rape her. We did go to court, and then maybe they gave me a verdict that I have to pay, and I haven't paid yet. So Rab Shimon, what would Rab Shimon say there? Kivan the Amad B'din, since the case was tried already, there was a verdict rendered. Mamon Havi, it's Mamon, and therefore what? When he denies the money and he says, I don't owe you the money, I didn't rape her, we didn't go to court, and he denies all money, he's denying money. And when he admitted now, he would have to bring a korban Hasham Gzelos. He would have to do that. Right? Would he be chayav mamon havi machayav like korban shvua? Odilma come for the false shvua. Odilma afagav dam b'din. Even though they went to court already and there was a verdict, knas have, as we'll see later on, because it started off the original what we went to court over was a knas. Okay, once Bezdin judged that I have to pay, it could turn into money, but it was originally a knas, and therefore maybe Rav Shimon would still say that this is considered a knas, and you wouldn't be chayav korban shvua. So the question over here is not motive knas potter or not. Clearly, Avram, if I was motive knas, if the rapist was motive before he was adjudicated, he doesn't have to pay the knas. He does have to pay. He wouldn't have to pay the knas. And if he admitted it only after he was tried in court and they gave him a verdict, you have to pay. And he says, yeah, it's true, I did. Too late, because then it was there. He has to pay. It's not motive knas anymore. But the question is, legabi a shvua, legabi korban shvua, when he denies it after it was adjudicated, is that considered he's denying money? Denying money, like denying a loan or a deposit or a paycheck or something like that, where he really owes him money. Is it like that now? And therefore, when he admits it after, is it chayav korban shvua or not? That's the question. So Rabba Marachmani answered. Listen to Rabba's answer. Mamona have, it's considered money. Machayav like korban shvua. At this point, it's money. Even Rav Shimon would be moda. That's what we're saying. That's what Rabba's answer was. Rabba's answer to the question posed by Abai. What would Rav Shimon say when it was adjudicated already, and he denied it, that he owed them the money after it was adjudicated and he had to pay him and all that? And he says, no, the whole thing didn't happen, and he swore falsely about it, and then he admitted to it. He would be chayav korban shvua according to Rav Shimon. That's what Rav is saying right now. Now we're going to try to disprove that. Rav Shimon Omer, listen to this. Yachol Omer l'chavero. This case again. Omer l'chavero. Reuben tells Shimon, "Anas to piti. You raped my daughter. Or you seduce her. I didn't do it. Okay, I didn't do it. Or he tells him another case where you're chayiv a knas. Hey, mishor chesabdi, your shore killed my eved. Yesterday, Irving asked about, in case of an eved, all these cases, there is money also besides the knas. And I told him that the eved, you're only chayiv the 30 shekels. So I found out there is a shita in the Yerushalmi. It brings down that if, let's say, if you, for whatever reason, you don't have to pay the knas, like motor knas in the case of an eved, you still would have to pay maybe the damages that you caused damages that you killed the eved. He was worth something. So it's probably talking about where the eved wasn't worth anything. He was a mukashkin, he was sick, whatever it was. Because if the eved's worth 100 shekels, the guy would rather get 100 shekels than 30 shekels. But whatever, here's somewhere where the eved wasn't worth anything. Okay, so he says, your shore killed my eved and you're chayiv me 30 shekels. He denied it, right? Or his eved Kanani said, you knocked on my tooth, right? Remember, an eved Kanani goes out b'shein b'ayin. If he knocks out his tooth, you knock out his tooth, right? That's also a knas, because the eved Kanani, like Rashi says, belongs to the master, just like his donkeys and horses do. If a man knocked out the tooth of his donkey, does he have to pay anybody? Does he lose his donkey? No, doesn't. He belongs to him. Rashi says so. Therefore, it's a knas. It's a special knas. If you knock out, if you abuse your slave, your eved Kanani, and you hurt him physically, he goes out free. That's a knas. So all these cases, Reuben accused Shimon of that you owe money for some knas, shorcha. Your shore killed my eved, or you raped my daughter, or the eved Kanani was the Reuven, and he says you knocked out my tooth. He denies the whole thing. I didn't knock out your tooth or your eye, whatever. You're right. The nishba, and the defendant swore about it. The hoda, and then he was more afterwards. I might think you're chayiv in that case, right? In all these cases, you denied money and you have to pay. Talmud Lomer, the pasuk says again in Vayikra, hey, he denies against his friend that because either with a deposit or b'tzumas it was like a loan, he owed him money, or some deal, he gave him money for something and he owed it to him back, or because he stole, or he held back, he oppressed him by not paying his paycheck, or masaveda, he found his lost item, and all these cases v'kichishba, and he denied him v'nishba. Why does he give you, the Torah gives you all these cases? He denied a deposit or a loan, or he stole money or a paycheck or whatever. I might think you have to be, so I might think in these cases where you deny a knas, like I didn't rape your daughter, my shore did not kill your eved, I did not knock out my eved's eye or tooth, I might think you have to swear, you have to bring a korban shvur there too. There's no sheker. He says no. Here's Menishba al sheker. These are all cases of kesef, of money, denied money, paycheck, loan. I lent you money, I deposited money with you. All those cases, and mammon, afkoshe mammon. Where is there a korban shvur? Only when there's real money. Yatsu elu shein knas. These are knas. What are these knas? Onus mafata, hey mishor chesabdi, or ipalta shina v'simita. All those cases are cases of knas. Now here's the issue. The issue is it amad b'din or not? Reb Shimon says in these cases you don't pay. There is no korban shvur. Why? Only when there's money cases, not when there's knas. Okay, is this with hamadas b'din or not? If it's not hamadas b'din, there was no adjudicated. The case wasn't tried yet. We understand. Reb Shimon says that's like Reb Shimon says in our Mishnah. Unless if there was didn't go to court yet, there's no money here because motor b'knas is potter, and if he didn't give the money yet to the father, he could deny. He could be moted to the whole thing and not pay at all. That's what. When he's accused, he could deny. So it was not adjudicated. So Rabba said if it was adjudicated already, Reb Shimon's motive that it's mammon and there would be korban shvur. So what is this case talking about? Reb Shimon says, if we start this brayso by saying, Reb Shimon Omer, I might think that if you denied a knas and then you admitted it later on after you swore falsely about it, you have to pay your chayav a korban shvur. Kamashman kichesh misa, only money. This is not money. This is knas. My love, and I'm at base now. My love, b'shamad din. Aren't we speaking on here b'shamad din, where it was tried already? And therefore, we see Reb Shimon holds what? That even if it was Amad B'din, it's still considered knas. Even though there was a verdict rendered that he owes him the money, right? He owes him money. So he says, no, you're not chayav. Kichesh misa is only talking about cases of straight money, not cases of knas. Even though the knas was transformed into money by the verdict. My love, B'shamad din. Lo, b'shalom b'din. Maybe this is speaking of Shalom B'din, like we started at the beginning. Reb Shimon says, if you didn't, wasn't tried yet, it's certainly a case of knas. Think about mid-ration b'shamadin, but the ratio of that brisa is talking about was amadin. Seif and ami b'shamadin. This mashma the seif would also be what was tried. The Tani ratio. The ratio said ainli elad dvorm shab'sham naled. This is the rabbanan. The ratio of this rabbanan. This is Rav Shimon Omer, right? You start off this brisa by saying Rav Shimon Omer. Rav Shimon, the Tani ratio ainli elad dvorm shab'sham naled as a carbon. Where do you have to pay carbon? Where do you have to make a carbon shvua? Bring carbon shvua. Things that you pay for the keren for the principal only. Tashlumi kefa, tashlumi avrach misha. What happens if it was burgled? You pay double, or it was burgled and slaughtered or sold. You pay 4 or 5. Bonus mafata, the kanasa of rapist. Umotzi shemra. Also, you pay 100 shekels. It's a strict fine. It's a statutory fine, a fixed amount. How do I know there also I make a carbon shvua? That's what the Rabbanan say. This is the Rabbanan Shita, because the Rabbanan say that's certainly money. But according to Rabbanan also, before Hamara B'din, it wouldn't be money, it would only be knas. Tamalomer ma'ala ma'al, and you committed a sin of stealing money. Riba, because it's ma'ala ma'al. Didn't just say you committed a sin, it says ma'ala ma'al, like a double lashon. Riba to include these cases too. Hey chidami. What are these cases speaking about? Was there Hamara B'din or not? According to Rabbanan, idlo Hamara B'din, feilamika. If there was no trial yet, is there double? When you pay double? Guy says you burgled my house last night, you stole my shirt. You got to pay me double? No, I admit it. I stole your shirt. Here's your shirt back. I don't have to pay double. When do you pay double? When there was a B'din. When he was tried in court, he didn't admit it. He was tried in court as B'din. So over here, when you talk about, he says, that's only, I know the carbon shvua by Karen. How do I know if it's a knas like kefil or Abba Chamisha, onus from Fatimot Shema, Kamash Milan, Umar Labal, all kinds of stealing money. Talking about B'din. And the Rabbanan say it was Omer B'din, so it's money now. And you have to make a carbon shvua on that too. Umid ratio b'sham B'din, since the ratio the Rabbanan is speaking about where it was adjudicated, Safinam b'sham B'din. Rav Shimon is also talking about B'sham B'din, and we're saying over B'sham B'din, even with B'sham B'din, what does Rav Shimon say? That there is no carbon shvua. This contradicts Rabba's answer to Abaye. Amalei, so he answered him, I guess, Rabba, answered him. He asked Rabba, because Rabba gave this answer, so he asked him. So Rabba answered, I can give you a dochik answer, a far-fetched answer, and say, Reisha b'sham b'din. The Reisha Rabban is clearly b'sham b'din, because there's kefil. There wouldn't be kefil b'sham b'din. The Sefer b'shlam b'din. Rav Shimon speaking about where there was not Amud b'din, right? But Kula Rav Shimon, I can tell you that. The whole thing goes like Rav Shimon. Rav Shimon admits in the Reisha it was Amud b'din, and therefore it's money. And the Sefer was lo Amud b'din, and therefore it's not money, it's only a kanas. Rav Shimon. But I don't want to give you this dochik answer, this forced answer. You'll tell me, listen to Reisha of Shimon Omer, or listen to Sefer Divrei of Shimon. We just quoted here on Beis the Reisha. What is the Sefer? The Sefer says Rav Shimon Omer Yachal Omer Lechaveir Nasva Kamashlam Kichik Miso. If the whole thing is Rav Shimon, why would Rav Shimon's words be in the middle? See, if the Reisha and the Sefer are both Rav Shimon, but the Reisha is speaking about the Amud B'din, the Sefer Shalom B'din. So Rav Shimon should list the Brisa should list Rav Shimon at the beginning of the Brisa. Rav Shimon says in the first case, Amud B'din, it's Mammon. In the Sefer, where it's not Amud B'din, it's Kanas. That's what it should say. Or say Rav Shimon at the very end. But if you stick Rav Shimon in the middle, you have a ratio which says one thing. Then you have Rav Shimon Omer. So how can you say this ratio is Rav Shimon? The Sefer is Rav Shimon, not the Sefer, because it says Rav Shimon Omer. So that's a dochik answer to say the whole thing is Rav Shimon, and the Reish is speaking about Amudin, the Sefer is not Amudin. Why are the words of Shimon Omer stuck in the middle then? Should say Rav Shimon Omer at the beginning, or did Rav Shimon at the very end, not in the middle, right? So I don't want to give you that answer. Listen to Reish of Shimon Omer, or listen to Sefer Rav Shimon Elakula b'Shamadim. So therefore, we have to be at the whole price is speaking Shamadim. The Reish Rabbanan, the Reish is the Rabbanan Shita, and the Sefer is Rav Shimon, and the Sefer is Rav Shimon, and therefore Rav Shimon is saying that there is no carbon shvua in that case, even though it was Amud B'din. So therefore, that's a problem with Rabbah. So Rabbah's answer is carbon shvua, the Rahmana Patre. I'll tell you the truth is you're right. The truth is that it's mammon in that case. And by other knasot, as we'll see, other knasot, it's considered money. But over here, I know that you got the carbon shvua, the Torah patred him because of a kichesh. In other words, even though it is mammon, but it's not regular mammon like a loan or a deposit or a paycheck. Rahmana patred because it's bechichesh. When I said it's mammon, I meant Larisha Labanav that it's mammon in the sense that he can remember we learned a knas, he can't think of if there's a case with a knas and the guy who's supposed to receive the knas dies, he can't give that. The knas, the schus for that knas doesn't go over as Yerusha. He says, when I say it's mammon, it means in terms of giving it as an inheritance to his son. But I know that at Kichash that doesn't apply. So in other words, when I said before, and Rabbah said before, it's mammon, even though if you look at Rabbah's words, it's a little bit difficult because Rabbah said, Kivadav B'din Monave. So what does Rabbah answer? Mai says, Kivadav B'din. He said, Rabbah said, Mona. So now you have to say that Mechayiv Carbon Shvuah is the Gemara's answering it all. Rabbah is just simply saying it's mammon. And he says, when I say it's mammon, it means in terms of giving Yerusha to his kids, not in terms of a carbon shvuah, because it says Kichesh denies it. But this doesn't make sense with our Mishnah. What did our Mishnah say? That if the man dies before he collects his daughter's rapist knas, right? It goes to the daughter. It doesn't go to his Yerusha. Our Mishnah says if the father didn't collect the money from the rapist until he died, even though it was adjudicated already, she gets to keep it. If it's mammon, why would she keep it? If it's mammon, you're saying it's mammon. Once it was adjudicated, it's like mammon too, that he can give an inheritance to his sins. Why does it go to her? It belongs to his sons. So Rava says, listen what Rava says. Rava's answering now on behalf of Rava. Originally, Rava was Rosh Hashiva there for like 22 years. And when he was Rosh Hashiva, Rabbah and Rav Yosef both had this problem. For 22 years, Shannon, below Ifrik, and they couldn't answer this problem. Because we're trying to resolve, how did Rabbah say on the one hand that it's mammon, even according to Rav Shimon, once it's been adjudicated. On the other hand, he says it's not mammon because if the guy dies, it doesn't go to his sons, right? Ad the Yosef Rav Yosef until Rav Yosef, after Rabbah died, Rav Yosef became the Rosh Hashiva, and then somehow he got inspiration. Or he got inspiration, or maybe he didn't want to give his answer when Rabbah was around. Upir, can he explain it like this? Shiny awesome number called the pasuk says Isha Anara Chamishim Kesef. In other words, when he gives the money, the rapist, when the rapist gives the father the money, then he gets it. Lo zichsa Torah lav el mishon nesina. He only gets it from the time that he received the money. V'chi kama Rabbah said it's mammon avi l'risha labanav. He answered before. What did I say? It's mammon, not for the shvuah. L'risha labanav. What are you talking about? B'shar knasos. He's not talking, even though he asked about the case of the rape, he's not really talking about the case of the rape. In the case of the rape, it's not his money not only for the shvuah, and it's not his money even to be married to his kids, because the Torah says over here, this is a special case. He doesn't get the money until it's in his hands, until you actually collect. B'shar knasos. Elameata. So if that's the case, what do you mean? Because it says v'nosan. It says here v'nosan. He only gets it when he gives it to him. So by Evid also says kesef shloshim shkolim yitain ladonav. Are you going to say anything? Hachanami lo zichsa Torah laadon el mishas nesina. You're going to say also that the defendant who has to pay the money, right, to the he's sure killed the plaintiff's the plaintiff's Eved, and he has to pay 30 shekels to the Adon. The ones who was adjudicated, you're also going to say that if he didn't pay him yet, it doesn't go as a Yerusha to the plaintiff's son. The answer is Yitin l'chud v'nas l'chud. Yitin is not as strong as v'nasan. Yitin, he'll give in the future. That's good enough. But nasan is only when he actually gave it. That's different. So if this is your argument now, and you're saying that we're saying that the reason why the truth is that it's really mammon for Risha Laban of where? B'shar knosses. When it comes to other knosses, it's mammon, but there's no shvu at all. So Yachi, what do you have to learn? Tamalom b'kichesh. Why you say? How do you know that you don't have to give a carbon shvu in these cases? Because it says b'kichesh b'miso with all these cases of deposits and loans and things like that. Tamal v'nasan b'boyle. Learn it from v'nasan that it's not his until he actually received the money. So why don't you say you learn it from there that it's not money until he actually gets it? Learn it from V'nasan. Rashi says over here, like Rashi, Hachi, the shiny knas, the ones, mafatim sharknas, tafilu, amar bedin nami lav mamonu. You're saying when it comes to knas, it's different. When it comes to other knasot, soon as it was the amar bedin, it's considered mammon. When it comes to the knas of a nara or of a nara, it's not money until it's in the guy's hand. So why do you learn from Mekichesh? My Tamalomer Why learn from Kichesh, which is other knasot? Middle of Dami Litzumas Yad Lamavi Iker Tchilasa Mamon. Tebi Hashnami Lab Mamonu Drachmana Amar Benasan Lo Zifs Torah. Learn enough from there. Then Achnami Amar Bakiyas or Kichesh going Sham the Bedin of Bagra. You needed this case. Listen to this. You know what Kichesh for? Let's say it was adjudicated, and he didn't get the money yet. The father didn't get the money, but now she became 12 and a half. When she becomes 12 and a half, who gets the money? She does. Now what happens if she dies? She dies. She's not married. If she was married, her husband get it. She dies after she turned 12 and a half. So the money is hers effectively, right? The money belongs to her now. And now she dies. Who gets the money? Who inherits her? Her family, her father. Her father gets it. Ubagra, Mason, now she died. The Hassam, Kiyoki, Arasabia, when now, Mina Didokas, and then when the father inherits the money, meaning he goes to sons, he's inheriting for her. He's inheriting for her. And that's what we need the Kichesh for, right? Because Vanasam Biyada is telling you, wait, it's not until it reaches his hand. But let's say we're not talking about where it's going to go into his hand. We're talking about where it belongs to her because she was a Bogeris. She was 12 and a half now. So she's entitled to the money. Even if she didn't collect it, she's entitled to the money because it was adjudicated. It's mama for her. And now when the father gets it because he inherits her, and then he would give it to he would in turn give it to his kids when he died. So Merakiyars. So therefore, that's what we know. It was adjudicated. It was a verdict that the rapist has to pay, and then she turned 12 and a half, so the father doesn't get it anymore. And then she died. Now when the father gets it, he's not getting it from the rapist. If he gets it from the rapist, it's only if he gets it directly from the rapist. If he didn't get it from the rapist in his hand, it's not considered mammon yet. But if he's getting it not from the rapist, he's getting it because he inherits his dead daughter, right, who was entitled to the money, and it's getting it for euros, then it's mammon. That's the point. That's why you do the kichesh. In other words, Benasan also excludes it. Benasan only excludes it in the case where the father's getting it directly from the rapist. Yatsu elu shein knas. So what was his lashon? The last words on the page on Amaral were, Ayum, I think, man says, Yomi money, you raped my daughter, you killed, you're sure killed my eved, or you're a slave and you're asking money. You might think, and I deny it, and I admit after you have to make a shvua, carbon shvua. No, so Yatsuelu, the last words on the page, Yatsuelu shem knas. It's not mamas knas. Why do you say it's knas? It's not knas. Yatsuelu shem knas mamru. We're admitting now that it's money, meaning Rav Yehochi is going on. If we're talking about, like we said on the top of the page, we're talking about Bisham Bedin, and therefore it's money, except in the case of Knas, in the case of Ones, in the case of rapist, it's not considered money until it reaches the father's hands. But otherwise, it is money. In the case of a slave, or in the case of you knocked out the guy, it's considered you owe him the money. It's considered from the time it's adjudicated. It's moment. So why do you say it's Knas, Mamonu? It's not, why you call it Shem? That's all Shem Knas. They're not all Knas. They're Mamon. Except in the case of rapist, it's not considered moment until he reaches his hand. But the other cases, it's considered moment. Of Nachmar Yitzchak Yasser Ikum Knas. They start off with the Knas. In other words, the 30 shekels that you owe for your short killing the guy's Eved is a Knas. Later on, after it's adjudicated, it's money. But the point is, it's the basis. It's originally was Knas. Aser of Shim, Esvei, of Shim Poktashem, Sham Knas of Yatz. But let's go back to the original Brisa. The Brisa we said yesterday at the top of the Mishnah. It's not awesome. On Amar Aleph, we said about 10 lines down Amar Aleph, we started this whole sugya by saying, "Anas the biggest beat of Omer Law, Anas will be beat. Mashbiach and Omer Ein Bach Kacharolo Shem Poter She'enu Masham Knas Apiatzmo. Shem is you don't pay Knas Apiatzmo. Taima. So we said, well, then he by Esraba, what would be if it was already adjudicated? What would you say there? So he says it's mamam. Then it would be mamam. Would you make a korban shvua? We said anyway you didn't make a korban shvua because he didn't pay him yet. He didn't pay him yet. It's still considered like a knas. So right. So that's what it's mamam. But lemaisa you don't make a shvua. But Rav Shimon says over here, Sheinim Sham Knas Al Piatzma. Time to lo medid, Smashvin medin, hama bedin, the Mishalim bedin, the Mishalim Al Piatzma. Once he was adjudicated, even if you admitted it, you still have to pay. So korban shvua namichay b'shmashma. In other words, the lashon itself, what mashma that you would have to pay korban shvua. Meaning, Rabbi answered that it is mama. So we assume that to mean you have to korban shvua. But then we prove that Rav Shimon says you don't make a korban shvua anyway. You don't make korban shvua. You know why? Either from the kichesh, even in a case where where the father is not collecting the money because she was bogeris, or in a regular case where the father gets the money from Vinasan. Therefore, it's excluded. It's not considered mammon yet, especially case by onus. But otherwise, it is considered a mammon. But over here, we see Rav Shimon says, poter she'edim mishalim knas al piatzmo, time it alone did. Al piatzmo, meaning it wasn't adjudicated yet. So therefore, you're poter from carbon shvur. Why? Because there's no money. Since you don't pay knas based on your own words, there's no money involved yet. Because it was on Medin, the Masham Piatzmo, Mashba carbon shvur, you also bechayev. So it's mashba against what we're saying now. We say you don't have to shvur. It's mashba. Rav Shimon says that you would have to make a carbon shvur because he says why you don't pay ain't a mashalim. Why you potter from the carbon shvur? Because you don't pay knas based in your own words. You don't pay knas based in your own words only when it wasn't adjudicated yet. But once it was adjudicated, remember we said once it was adjudicated, you have to pay the 50 shekels regardless of what the guy admits. Once it was adjudicated, but you would have made the carbon shvur against what we proved, what Shimon says here. The answer is no. Carbon shvur not mechayev. The answer is no. Rav Shimon was only talking towards the rabbis. I hold Rachmana Patre, the Rabbanan patred him for the Torah, Hashem patred him from paying, either Kichesh or from Vinasan, as we've said, either Kichesh for all other cases, or Vinasan in the case of a rapist. El Didchu, you the rabbis, who say what? That when you deny them money, what did the rabbis say at the beginning? Anasas Pitius Bibro Melo Anasas Rabbanan say Chayav Shvur. Rav Shimon says you're potter because Marav Knas potter. That's your Chayav Shvur. And what's the reason why Chayav Shvur according to Rabbanan you said before? Because you're talking about Boshis Gam. Boshis Gam is there too. They're denying money. So I'm speaking to Rabbanan. Rav Shimon says, "Let the brand Rabbanan come along. Even though there was adjudicated, Hashem patred and Rachmana patred Mikichesh or from Manasan El Gutchu. But according to you, who say you're chayav only niyas heichad alam bedin if it wasn't alam bedin yet, if it wasn't adjudicated, the chikatava knas katava. What are you asking for? You rape my daughter. What are you asking for? Knas. No, moda b'knas is potter. So there's no money involved over here because I can get out of it just by being moda for the tavo knas levado. So you should be moda to me that I hold even if it was alam bedin. You're potter because of a kichesh, but it was lower bedin. Why do you say you're chayav a karbon shvur? He's only asking for knas. And motor b'knas is potter, so there's no money involved. Or Rabbanan say no. Ki katava boshis gam katava, like you said. He's asking for boshis gam. Boshis gam is chiyav mammon. You owe me money, just like a loan or a paycheck. You owe me money for the boshis and gam, for the shame and for the devaluation. Michael, what's machlokes between the Rabbanan and Rav Shimon? Rav Shimon saw below shavagedish maybe the kids katav nilokas. Rabbanan said when a person comes and says, "Listen, you raped my daughter," he didn't say what he's asking for, right? He just said, "You raped my daughter." What is he looking for? Rav Shimon says he's asking for the knas because he knows it's 50 shekels. Boshis of Gam, we're going to argue about. We have to bring in doctors and lawyers and figure out, assessors what it's worth, what the shame is worth. 50 shekels is statutory. That's what you owe me. So I'd rather, when a guy says you raped my daughter, he's looking for the 50 shekels. Oh, the 50 shekels is money. Marav knas is potter. That's what Rav Shimon says. But Rabbanan Savi, lo shavagedish midi dechi modebe lo mifter, the tava midi dechi modebe mifter. A guy, the Rabbanan say no. He's asking for the boshis of gam. Boshis of gam, I'm going to get no matter what. I'm not going to ask him for the knas. The knas, all you have to do is say, "Yeah, I'm sorry, I raped your daughter," and he's out of it, right? He's fine because of potter. So he'd rather ask for when a guy says, "You raped my daughter," what is he looking for? What's the tovei over here? If he said specifically it's tovei, fine. But if he didn't say specifically, he just says, "You raped my daughter," what is he looking for? Rabbanan says he's looking for the boshis of gam. Boshis of gam, you have to pay me no matter what, even if you admit it. Why would I ask you for something that you could just admit to be potter from? So I'm asking boshis of gam. Whereas Rav Shimon says, no, I'd rather ask for the knas because that's 50 shekels. He can't argue about what the value is. So Rav Shimon says, knas is potter. And even if it was adjudicated and turned into money, the Torah pattered it from Bekichesh or from Manasan. You don't have to pay that it's not mammon yet till it actually gets into his hand, and therefore, and you can pater from paying. Even though we said that is it mammon to Yarshin to his sons? Well, by other knasses, but not by ones, That's all Rav Shimon. The Rabbanan say, no, you're chayav shvua anyway, even if it wasn't Amar B'din, because when you said you owe me money for this, you owe me money for that, he's looking for the money, right? He's looking for the money. Now, what about the case? What would the Rabbanan say In the case of Hey Mishorches Avdi, if the evidence not worth anything and he's only getting the knas, what would he say there? Would the Rabbanan say also you're only asking for the knas and motor knas is part and maybe would be part from the shvur there too? So then we go along. Rav Shimon says maybe the Rabbanan would be motor to Rav Shimon in the other cases, because in the other cases there's no boshus v'gam when it comes to killing the shore. The shore, he killed the shore killed the eved. Or the case of Evedi Palta Shina Visimis, they were not talking about Bosagam. So maybe the Rabbanan will be Motrip Shimon there. But in the case of Onus, we have this machlokas. All right, we'll pick them here tomorrow, Mitzvah. From Boimine, this 6th line tomorrow. Boimine.